Okay, let us take a look into the changes of Angular 18. In my course, we will go over 4 points. One of them is the features of Angular 17, like the defer, control flow signals are now stable. That means if you started to use the signals or the new control flow, you're good to go. It's in Angular 18, it's stable. And that's the future of Angular. Then we will take a look on the Zoneless. Angular now allows, on an experimental base, that you can remove the zoning that it has, I think, nearly from the beginning on, to make more or better reactive apps. Then we will take a look on a new function that you can use on the router that allows you to redirect the user based on a function return. And lastly, we will go on to the NgContent fallback. They have added a new possibility that you can provide a template or a text that get rendered whenever a component not get an NgContent replacement from the outside. Okay, let us start with the Zoneless. First of all, we should define what the zone or how Angular handled the change detection before. I have an example for that. On the left side, you see we have an HTTP request that comes from the application. On the right side, we have the set interval or set timeout. Both of them are actions that happen asynchronously or out of the normal code flow. And Angular needed an option to kind of detect if something changes while some of that actions happen. Eventually, you already run in some issues with the zoning because, Angular not detected that you changed the variable in the component. What the zoning tries to do, or tried to do, if you want to go zoneless, is that it kind of detects actions that happen asynchronously, like an HTTP request or a set interval, set timeout, and it tries to get this code and putting it inside of a zone. Eventually, you already have used it, so you can go with making an own run in zone, and this is kind of the same. And what then happens is it executes the code that you are doing after HTTP request or something, and afterwards it triggers a change detection. The problem with this, or why we now thinking about zoneless, is that we often have the problem that this triggers too often. That means every time the Angular gets this change detect trigger, it tries to re-render the template or tries to detect changes inside of the template to adjust it. But that most of the time get called too often, which can bring performance issues. Quickly, what is the benefit, or how you have to adjust your application to be able to be zoneless? First of all, if you're already using the change detection strategy on push, you should be mostly good to go, because the change detection strategy on push is already nearly the zoneless thing, because you're already triggering detect changes when you have some asynchronously stuff or changing something outside of an input. Additionally, what you have to do is, for the people that using on push, most of the time it should not be that relevant, but what is important is that you have to trigger the detect change function this trigger in Angular the detect changes or the change detection, and then allows Angular to know that you want that the variables get checked, and additionally try to adjust the template to match the variable values. Also, if you're using already the signals, you're also good to go because the signals are already ready to use for Zoneless. What is important is that the developer are responsible for the change detection. That means you have to trigger it each time you know that it has to be updated. That can be, for some developers, be hard, but yeah, I think should be possible for everyone to do that. Lastly, the application get more stable because it only triggering the change detection when the developer triggers it. And there will be no zoning. That means everything you are doing can be done behind the scenes. And whenever you know that the Angular has to detect changes, you have to call the detect changes function. Okay, what does you have to do to use it? First of all, in a previous chapter, we explained about the bootstrapping application. What you now can do or has to do for the Zoneless is to provide experimental Zoneless change detection. That is available in Angular 18. And yeah, you have to add this to the providers of your Bootstrap application function. Additionally, is that you have to remove the zone.js file that is in the Angular JSON inside of the polyfill array. Ready to learn Angular 19, 20 and 21. This course covers everything new in this latest versions. From hydration, event replay, resource API, signal forms, we cover it all. You will get a complete playground app showcasing all features. Plus, we will build a weather app from scratch to implement everything hands-on. Full source code for both projects included. Check the link in the description. Okay, let us go into the next topic. Router redirects as functions. Okay, what has changed? Here you see like an example for possible routes you can have in your application. The first one in the array is a simple path. Everybody should know, first component. Then with Angular 17 they added this component thing where you can provide a standalone component. In the second element you have a path user page and the new property redirect to, which have like an input property here with query parameters that allows you to get access to the query parameters. What you now can do in the function is you can like adding some logic, and the route that you return or the string that you return will be the route where the user get redirected to based on some values, some conditionings. And here in that example, if the query parameters not containing a user ID, it will forward the user to /not-found. If there is a user ID, it will forward it to user/user ID. And that's the new functionality that they added to allow logic inside of routes. Lastly, we will take a look onto the NgContent fallback. Here I have an example component that has two NgContents, one of them using the select class greeting, and inside of that you can already see there's a hello. And this part, like here the hello and the other NgContent, the unknown user, are the fallback if the component or the parent not providing an NgContent for them. They will use the template in that example here, the text that you're providing inside of the brackets or inside of the HTML element. So the first one, as you see, is based on the class greeting, like an element that has the class greeting, and the second one is the NgContent that get used whenever you're providing an element that don't matching to a selector in the template. Okay, let us go through some examples. Here we have a user component that using the app profile as it is, not providing any content for the NgContent. What now the profile component are doing is it shows hello unknown user, because the first NgContent not finding an element that has the class greeting and will then fall back to hello. The second one also not found any content and then showing unknown user. In the second example, we're providing a span element with the class greeting that says hey. What now happens is that the profile component will use that span element with the class greeting as the replacement for the first NgContent. This results into an hey unknown user because the profile component replacing the first NgContent with the new span element class greeting that's saying hey, and that brings this hey unknown user. The last example I think you already can know. We have one element that matching to the first content like this greeting class, and we have a second element that not matching with the NgContent with the first one and will be replacing the second one. That results here in Hey Nico. I hope that you learned a little bit about the adjustments for Angular 18, and hopefully I will see you then in another section.